We're going into the mid-rounds on today's Locked On 49ers. Three sleepers the 49ers have met with that might be tipping their draft plans coming up on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Love our everydayers out there. We appreciate you hanging out with us as we break down the NFL draft, getting ready for the big event less than 2 weeks away now. And, of course, we'll be with you every day all the way all through the rest of the offseason, training camp, and into the 2025 season, and hopefully the postseason as well this time around. Has been some good runs for the 49ers last year. Not as much. They're trying to get it right here in the NFL draft. We got some clues to what the 49ers are up to here in this NFL draft in 2025. Three specific prospects: Cobee Bryant from Kansas, Quincy Riley out of Louisville, and Kyle Williams from Washington State. Those scouting reports all came in on 30 visits for the San Francisco 49ers. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Nissan and the all-new Nissan 2025 Armada. Stay tuned for the Armada Player of the Week later on in the show. All right, Croc, I know you've been waiting for this, and I know you've been sneaking peeks at all these cornerback prospects, and now we're getting into some of them here, and I'm sure you have some other favorites. Cobee Bryant is going to be first up on our list. Yeah.
No. I want to start with Kyle Williams.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, let's just flip it and go backwards. Let's flip it and go backwards then. We'll have a conversation about cornerbacks a little bit later. Does that mean, Croc, that he was the one you were most excited about when you put on the tape?
I don't know how you couldn't be more excited. First of all, the name kind of threw me. It's like, Kyle Williams. And a lot of these prospects, we may watch, throughout the season. You may watch a game and whatnot, but terrific season for Washington State. And I think they lost their quarterback after the season to, big NIL deal elsewhere or whatever collective deal. But who's really watching Washington State other than people that maybe went to Washington State? And I don't remember seeing them on national television too much. Like, what big games were they playing in? But I was thoroughly surprised with what I saw when I cut on Kyle Williams' film. And he was someone, if you just look at my notes, one of the first notes is, how fast is this guy? So I don't know his size. I like for Peacock to tell me his height, weight, speed. But what was his height? Or excuse me, speed.
At the speed at his, would you think he ran a pretty good 40?
Yeah, he's explosive.
Yeah. 4.70.
You're lying.
No, 4.40. 4.4 flat at the combine for Kyle Williams. Yeah, no, he's fast. He's fast on the field. He's super fast on tape. He was fast at the combine as well. 5'10" and 5'8", 190 pounds, 4.4 flat in the 40. 1.53, 10-yard split, which is really good. Shorter arms, smaller hands. Let's see. Actually, let's go into this a little bit deeper and see if he ran any of the agilities. But yeah, 4.40. He's fast.
Okay, so some of my initial notes. All right. He does a really good job with pressing the cornerback's leverage and then being able to win vertically, whether it's off the line of scrimmage, whether it's a defensive back that is playing off coverage. He understands how to attack the cornerback's leverage and still be able to win over the top. His run after catch ability, off the charts. And he does some things that I felt like were really good, little subtle things that we try to teach our receivers over at Stagg High School in Stockton, California. All right. Knife upfield. We played in the tournament today out in Palo Alto or was it Menlo, Atherton or something like that? All right. Atherton High School. Terrific looking high school, by the way. Put a lot of money into that school. All right. But one thing we had to, get some of our players out. They start dancing around, doing all these things. No, catch the ball, knife, get upfield right now. I don't know if anybody in college football does it better than Kyle Williams, being able to run kind of little stick routes, catch the ball, knife upfield. And Friday, I went to a coach's clinic at San Jose State. And one of the things that they talked about was putting importance on creating explosive plays and how much that leads to wins. And they talked about their percentage of explosive plays in the passing game and in the run game. And one thing that they really stress with all their players is getting 2 more yards. Like, get 2 more yards. Whatever you got, we want to try to fight to get 2 more yards. And if you do that, it drastically changes the game. I think Kyle Williams changed the outcome of plays because he consistently got 2 more yards than what was there for him to get. And he's doing that because he's not wasting any motion after the catch. He does a terrific job of that. He has nice settingness to be able to win off the line of scrimmage. One question I did kind of have that it was a little hit and miss was kind of playing through contact at the catch point or expecting contact. And it wasn't that he was scared, but like, is it throwing his concentration off just a little bit on some of these? And there was some where I thought he did a really good job of it, but I don't know if it was overly consistent the way that I would like to see. But aside from that, at times at the line of scrimmage, versus press has a tendency sometimes to take a little too long at the line of scrimmage, just a little too much dancing before getting into his route. NFL level, you don't have a ton of time to do all of that, but he does win with speed releases. He does win with speed. He does win with suddenness. He does win after the catch. How tall did you say he was again?
5'11" or 5'10" and 5'8".
All right, 5'10", 5'8", close to 5'11". He looked like a 49ers receiver. And I was saying this about Luther Burden, but I am even more impressed by what I saw from him. Now, we are talking about it looked like a little bit more of a kind of spread, air raidish offense where he's able to kind of work a little bit in space and run these routes. But I liked a lot of it. He lined up outside. He lined up in the slot. If you're telling me this is a mid-round guy, there's no way I would see him in like the 3rd round and be like, nah, I can't take him. Like I would have to take him. Even if receiver is not a need. I looked at my bro and I said, a guy like this is why, not that I'm upset that the 49ers took Ricky Pearsall, but I know that because of Ricky Pearsall, they are less likely to take a guy like this. But in 2nd round, if there was no Ricky Pearsall, 2nd round all day, and I'll be extremely excited. Kind of reminds me a little of like Deontay Johnson, who was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers, kind of like that type of
exactly the same size. Yeah,
guy. I'm excited about this guy. Like just what I saw, and he was. I can't tell you how many of his clips I screenshot and sending to my athletes at Stag because you need to see how this guy's playing. There's not a lot of wasted movement. Terrific after the catch, not even up the field, using the speed, physicality, breaking tackles. Love the film.
I don't have a lot to add there. And as you were talking, you're kind of just bringing up everything that I was going to add to the conversation. There were some similarities to Ricky Pearsall with how he breaks off his routes, the quickness, the suddenness there. You said no wasted motion. And I think that's my favorite part about Kyle Williams is it's from the beginning to the end of his route, right? He's good off the line. Did you see the route for the touchdown against Travis Hunter? He probably got Travis Hunter worse than anybody that I've ever seen. I haven't seen every single one of Travis Hunter's reps, but he got him. Like you gotta that's the one that he that he can hang his hat on and be like, look, this is your dude. You're gonna draft. This is the best prospect in the draft. I cooked him.
There was a little Brandon Ayuk to his game, but more explosive. Like that's what I was saying. I'm like Brandon Ayuk, but more explosive. If you can imagine whatever that looks like in your head.
Yeah, I mean he's faster.
He's trying to hype this kid up, but just watching his film, like if I were to put on his college film and then put on Brandon Ayuk's college film, and Ayuk's was terrific, and I thought he was a terrific athlete as well. But it looked like a more sudden and explosive version of Ayuk, and Ayuk was sudden and he was twitchy, and I thought he had clean releases, and I thought he did a good job with some of these same things, setting up his routes. Setting up the defensive back and putting the DB in a vulnerable position. Like I thought he gave you a lot of that, but more explosive, like just faster. Watching him shoot through defenses, and I can't tell is he shooting through it because maybe these aren't NFL guys on the other side of the ball, or is it he's just fast? And then you told me he did run a 4.40.
Yeah, the worst part about him is his name, first of all, in 49ers lore, and I'm not sure if he's ready if he gets drafted by the 49ers. I had, in the last mock draft I did, Croc, I had Kyle Williams to the 49ers, and I had him in the 5th round, and it was like, I don't think he's going to be there, right? And he's kind of in that early day 3 range in a lot of mock drafts, in a lot of rankings. I think it was Ben Albright who had a tweet the other day. It was basically said, wherever you have Kyle Williams, move him up. And so I wonder if he's got some information from some scouts. He's got to be a 3rd round guy, like all day, I think. And who knows? Like you said, 2nd round, you probably wouldn't be shocked, right? He gets up. I would take him
if I had no idea how other people saw him or viewed him or anything like that, and I'm going off of previous drafts,
Yeah.
it seemed like late first to mid-second. Like, that's what it
Day
looked like
two
to me.
guy, solid. Yeah. And so I think in the end, that's what he's going to be, is a day two guy. So maybe that will thwart the 49ers plans. He could be gone before, say, pick 100, if that's where they are starting to look for their wide receivers and cornerbacks in this draft. But I feel like that's kind of what they're telling us. Potentially, maybe they go a little bit higher than round 3 with a wide receiver. I do think Luther Burden I'd have way ahead of Kyle Williams. Maybe not way ahead, but ahead of Kyle Williams, just because of he's got the same suddenness and speed and ability. Maybe not quite as good as a route runner, but he wasn't really asked to be that much either. I think there's a lot more there with Luther Burden, especially if you go back to 2023 season. But Burden's got way more physicality and play strength, and he's got the same burst and athleticism and speed at 6 feet 206. And so that's why Burden, for me, it's the play strength. But I could absolutely see Kyle Shanahan loving Luther Burden, and I can absolutely see Kyle Shanahan loving Kyle Williams. By the way, Kyle Williams does get high marks for character and leadership, and he did go off last year statistically, his best season. He started out at UNLV, transferred to Washington State the last 2 years. He had 1,200 yards receiving on 70 catches, 14 touchdowns in 2024, Kyle Williams. So, yeah, wherever Kyle Williams shows up in your mock draft simulators, you probably got to bump him up a round or two for sure. Blocking, play strength is probably, but that was kind of a lot of the stuff in the scouting report sounds a lot like Ricky Pearsall, right? The quicks, the suddenness, gets open, makes catches.
He looks like a more explosive athlete than
Pearsall timed really well, but I think Williams looks faster, especially downfield.
He looks more explosive, more twitchy, more suddenness than Pearsall. Pearsall was really good, great hands.
Yeah.
And I thought his testing didn't quite match the film. But you knew you were getting a good football player. Yep. And even after his rookie year, and you see some of the things he started doing, it's like, oh, this is a good football player. Then you hear how he approaches the game and how smart he is, and kind of approaching it like a veteran. And it's like, oh, okay, like this is a guy that's going to be good in the NFL. And those are things that would make me draft Ricky Pearsall. As opposed to, I don't know how Kyle Williams approaches the game. I don't know what his mindset is towards that. I don't know his work ethic. Those are things that clearly with the 49ers, they identified with Pearsall that we don't have to worry about those things with him. And that's why he's a good professional. I think he's going to only continue to be better for the Niners.
Yeah, and 49ers fans got to get over the name with Kyle Williams. Another interesting name. Let's talk cornerbacks. We got Cobee Bryant out of Kansas and Quincy Riley out of Louisville, both meeting with the San Francisco 49ers. And I think a big part of the plans that the 49ers are tipping for their 2025 draft class. Next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. And speaking of those shows, endless entertainment, 4K streaming. Watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. All you got to do is head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. That's one word. Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube. Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On.
Peacock, have we talked about, which I know we haven't because I haven't watched them, but the receiver out of Stanford, I don't even want to butcher their last name, but I kind of did a quick little thing, and I saw, I think he tested better as an overall athlete than Kyle Williams. Like, he's bigger, 6'2", so he probably looks 6'3" in person, 208 pounds or 206 pounds. Vertical jump was better, broad jump was better. 40 was a little bit slower, but 4.4 at that size, that speed, that's still good. I have to watch the film and see if it matches the film. So I haven't watched it yet. I don't want to speak on him too much.
There's one reason why I think Alec Iomanner out of Stanford is somebody that Kyle Shanahan will love, and it's because he blocks his butt off. Former hockey guy, Canadian. He's 6'1" and 6'8", so 6'1" and 3/4, 206, 4.44. He ran 40-yard dash. I don't think he plays really super fast, and he's more of an X outside receiver. I guess he could play some big slot, and he's a good blocker. And in fact, Alec Iomanner and Kyle Williams are back-to-back, both with third-round grades in Dane Brugler's Beast draft guide, by the way. 11th and 12th wide receivers, respectively. So, yeah, hey, those 2 third-round picks, 49ers could go in that direction. I like Kyle Williams better than Alec Iomanner, I got to say. Iomanner does have that ability to block, more physicality, more of I think an X. Kyle Williams is probably a Z, maybe someone you want to move around, keep off line of scrimmage, kind of maybe overlaps a little too much with Ricky Pearsall, potentially. But clearly 49ers like him and brought him in for a visit, Kyle Williams. They brought in Cobee Bryant as well. Look, he doesn't get to choose his name, but you know what he also did is he told people to call him Mamba, too. Cobee Bryant, the football player, I'm saying. And I always clown on the original Cobee Bryant for nicknaming himself. I was like, I thought it was kind of a poser move, right? May he rest in peace. I can't talk smack about Cobee Bryant like I used to anymore. So now it's just like, it is what it is.
R.I.P. Mamba.
Yeah. But not only is he named Cobee Bryant, spelled differently, Cobee Bryant, cornerback out of Kansas, he actually tells people to call him Mamba, and he plays with the Mamba mentality, Croc, which is the number one thing you like about Cobee Bryant, the cornerback out of Kansas. He's really slim. He's built like a basketball player. Only 180 pounds was Cobee Bryant, but he plays a lot bigger, plays very physical, and he does play with that Mamba mentality.
The second corner in a few years with the name Cobee Bryant, spelled with a C. There's another one that played along Sauce Gardner over there at, what school were they at? Not Louisville, Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, yeah. So he's drafted The other Cobee Bryant was drafted, and he was also spelled Cobee, different than Kobe, but also different than this Kobe, right? He was like Coby, I think.
Yeah.
That was 2 years ago, I think. He was in the draft, so not that long ago.
Yeah. And he's been a solid professional. I think he was a Thorpe Award winner as well, coming out of Cincinnati. But let's talk about this Cobee Bryant. All right. You know who he reminded me of right off the bat? Just the way he played and some of the things I'm going to say about him. Rashard Robinson, a.k.a. Mantis.
There it is. Yeah. Yes. Oh, dude, absolutely. Phenomenal. You're good with the comps today. Deontay Johnson and Rashard Robinson. I think those are fantastic comps for these two players.
All right. So, Baby Mantis, that's what we'll call him. All right. Cobee Bryant, slim guy, and he looked like it. And Mantis was a guy who, coming out of college, out of LSU, kind of missed a year, but he was 170 pounds or 170. He was a very skinny, kind of frail guy the 49ers were able to draft in the 4th round, I believe. But you talked about the physicality, and one of the things I talked about first was he'll fill on tackle. So he's definitely clearly a very willing tackler. Something that you worry about when a guy is 180 pounds is he shying away from contact. He is not. I think he does a really good job of kind of throwing his body around. He is comfortable playing off, but and this is the Rashard Robinson kind of comp here. He plays off, but he's not like the most technical guy. So almost like a Travis Hunter, who I think Travis Hunter was a better athlete than technician at the cornerback position. Now, I don't think that Cobee Bryant is as good of an athlete as Travis Hunter, nor do I think he has quite the same kind of instincts as Travis Hunter, but you could see kind of just the way he moves around. He kind of hops around a little too much for me. I think he plays a little bit too high for me. He will trigger on anything underneath and throw his body around to go make tackles. Leans on his athleticism just a little too much for me. But he did one thing that I thought was really cool, and I kind of posted this to Twitter, where he was in a press bail type situation and kind of lined up in press alignment, bailed out, opened up, looked like an RPO that the quarterback, and they were running on the goal line. They tried to throw the slant, and he squeezed the slant. A lot of guys from a bail tend to play maybe a little too soft and kind of fall off, and then they're kind of late to squeeze on anything like a slant. Well, he squeezed very well and was able to get there and kind of disrupt the ball. The quarterback had to throw it kind of out in front of the receiver. He still was kind of able to get there. It kind of ricocheted off the receiver's hand and whatnot. But just watching him have that kind of feel for a route in space from a bail position, tell me, okay, this is a guy that plays with a little anticipation. He understands where he's a little vulnerable and he's able to kind of cover that up. So I saw some of those things, but a lot of hopping around and kind of just reacting as opposed to someone who is sound mentally, understanding truly, hey, these are the concepts I'm understanding. I'm able to put my foot in the ground, trigger, come down, break on the ball. He's kind of like, let me just hop around, not sure exactly, okay, where I'm putting, okay, let me go now, instead of just, oh, I know what you guys are doing. Boom, I'm comfortable, I'm triggering right now, and I'm gonna break up passes. So I would like to see him become a little bit more technically refined. The 180-pound frame may scare some people off as well. The lack of just, especially with kind of a longer looking guy, I would like to see a little bit more press man, a little bit more consistent with that, as opposed to just off, keep being safe, keeping things in front of him and whatnot. But overall, I liked him. Can't say I loved him.
What I don't like about Cobee Bryant, and you mentioned his build, and so he was 6 feet 180 at the combine, and then he showed up at his pro day and he was actually 178. And it was one of those where it's like, okay, you ran at the combine, and maybe that was your slim down weight. Show up at 185, right, at your pro day, and then he's actually 2 pounds lighter. He actually ran slower. He ran 4.55 at his pro day. He was 4.53 at the combine, and so it looks like his 10-yard split was worse. So he probably just got out of the block a little bit slower at his pro day run than his combine run. So 4.53 40-yard dash. With that slim of a build, that combination of being undersized, even though he's 6 feet tall and has long arms, and his length is good. I don't know if that's a great combination, right? And then you kind of talk about how it's like the vibes and the physical ability and the dog mentality that he plays with, and then maybe there's not as much technique to go with it. And it's kind of a bad combination. That's why I believe that he's only a 6th round projection here, or he's ranked as a 6th round player, the 26th cornerback in the draft in Brugler's Beast. And I'm pretty sure Brugler's lower on him than a lot of other people. But yeah, sort of that 5th round area, 6th round area is kind of where Cobee Bryant, you should expect him to be off the board. And it kind of tells me that's so. Here's the interesting part about, as far as the plans. It's not just that the 49ers met with Kyle Williams, Cobee Bryant, and Quincy Riley with their 30 visits. And we don't know all of their 30 visits yet. We have about a little over half of their 30 visits. And, not every team does all 30 of their allowed 30 visits, bringing people in to the facility and, working them out and meeting with them in Santa Clara. So I don't know how many 30 visits they're actually going to have. Maybe it's 25 or something, or 20, or maybe it is all 30. But we know who a little over half of them are so far. And shout out to Steph Sanchez at Steph49K, I believe is the Twitter handle there. And you can see the list. They haven't met with a single other wide receiver or corner that's been reported, aside from the 3 guys we're talking about today. And so it kind of tells me what they're looking at in this NFL draft. And they're probably trying to do some other things with some bigger men early in the draft, and then kind of turn around and start looking at some of these mid-round cornerbacks, potentially, 3rd, 4th, 5th round wide receivers as well. And they do have a lot of picks in that area. They got 2/3, 2/4, and 2/5 in this draft. No 6th round picks. And then again, 3 7th round picks. So that's what I think is the most fascinating thing is clearly they have a need for another cornerback. But the guys they're meeting with are of the mid-round variety. As is Cobee Bryant. So I think that is kind of telling of what the plan is going to be. Would you sign off on Cobee Bryant with one of those 5th round picks, Croc?
Maybe 6th round. I mean, and that's only a round later, but I just kind of like him more in that range. Now, if you were telling me he was, he tested better athletically, he was more technically refined on film, you're seeing those things, even at his weight, 6 foot, 180 pounds, for a 5th round, I like it. But the 4.53, then go and you run slower and you're lighter. I'm not seeing the technical aspect of it on film. It's a little bit harder for me to get behind.
Let's talk about Quincy Riley next, out of Louisville, cornerback there. If you like him more, Croc, the expert cornerback scouting report from Eric Crocker on Quincy Riley, and see how we feel about these prospects, where they should be taken by the San Francisco 49ers, and if they should be taken. Next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Armada and the Armada Player of the Week from our friends at Nissan with the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. And each week we're taking a look at our prospects to pick one guy that stands apart. And, man, I think today the prospect for the 49ers has to be Kyle Williams. Showed him a lot of love in the first segment of this show. I think a player that Croc and I would both like to be San Francisco 49ers, maybe erase the memories of past Kyle Williams in the San Francisco 49ers office as we look ahead to next season. And when it comes to the Armada and the clear-cut player of the week, dream big, go big is one of the themes, especially when you're talking about wide receiver. But you know what else the Armada is? It's heavy duty. It's rugged, and it conquers the road with capability and confidence. So it's clear that our player of the week is out here ready to conquer the road ahead with confidence, just like you can in the all-new Nissan Armada and any of their outstanding vehicles, the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder. Go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. All right, Croc. Quincy Riley, cornerback out of Louisville, who I think fits a little bit. I do want to say really quick with the weight on Cobee Bryant, being 180 pounds and 6 feet. I mean, that's not that bad of size for this day and age in the NFL. And especially when you look at Travis Hunter, who's 6 feet, 188 pounds. He's not built that much different. And everyone's talking about him as the generational prospect, the best player in the entire draft. He only weighs 188. And then another guy out of Kentucky, Maxwell Hairston, 5'11" and 5'8", so just a hair shorter, 183. Now, the difference is they're a lot faster. Maxwell Hairston ran 4.28 at the combine. Travis Hunter, we don't have a 40 time for him, but we know he's fast, and it'd be shocking if he was any slower than 4.4 flat, probably. So being fast when you're skinny is pretty darn important. And Cobee Bryant is slim and average speed, right? So I think that's kind of the problem when you get those two things together. Quincy Riley,
if we ran a 4.45, I think we'd be having a different conversation. And I know people are like, the 40 a lot of times, it doesn't mean that they don't like the player. It's just likely going to cost the player some money. And he's going to slide a little bit. And if you get him in the 5th round, 6th round, and he ends up playing very well, cool. But the NFL just has athletic thresholds, and they put a dollar amount on that. So does not mean that he's not going to be a good football player. I think somebody said that on one of our previous recordings where he was like, football players over workout warriors. It's like the workouts, again, it doesn't mean that you don't like the player. It's just how much do you value him, because they look at analytics and they'll tell you, hey, how many players are 6 feet, 180 pounds or less? How much do those guys hit, or how many Pro Bowls have they made, or all pros, right? And they'll probably be very minimal at the corner. Oh, and also around a 4.55. Like, so 6 foot, 180 pounds, 4.55. How much do those guys hit? I'd say very, very slim, very slim. So you're just kind of leaning a little bit more towards athleticism, and a guy like him, like, man, I'll take him, but it's just more like 6th round.
Yeah, or if he's still there with one of those 7th round picks. What about Quincy Riley? 5'11", 194 out of Louisville. And I'd say the thing that sticks out with Riley is the ball skills. Maybe not, even though he's 15 pounds heavier than Cobee Bryant, doesn't necessarily play bigger, but he's more of a man-to-man ball skills guy, and that's what you like about Quincy Riley. What did you see when you put on the Quincy Riley tape?
You talked about him being more of a man guy. And one of my first notes, comfortable and pressed man, trigger on physicality. Another guy that does not shy away from the context. So you like to see that in cornerbacks, because it kind of lets you know I can do different things with him, man. We can lean into some cover 2. He could play in the flats, trigger on running backs, come up, run support, contain, and do all those things. A very patient and pressed man, but I thought he played off coverage just a little soft for my liking. All right. I want to see you be a little bit more aggressive. And we talk about those instincts. I saw in the chat, LKV says, and he doesn't have Hunter's instincts and ball skills. Now, he's talking about Cobee Bryant, but I would say, even with Riley, let's be a little bit more instinctual from off coverage. Ball skills, cool, but let's be instinctual. Let's trigger on stuff. Let's anticipate routes a little bit more. And Travis Hunter, those are some of the things that really make him kind of special as a defensive back. You like to see some of that from these guys, being able to play different type of coverages, or techniques that they're being asked to do. Some of my other notes on him, has nickel ability. So that's the thing right there. He has a frame to be able to take on contact a little bit more. Get back to my high school. There's a kid, man. He did so good. Shout out to my guy Dylan. Did amazing today in the slot. And you watch him reroute guys with physicality, throw them off their routes, be able to run with those guys a little bit, and then pass it off, and then reroute that guy, and just be able to play in space. And then you want to see how those guys do in the run game, being able to trigger. I think this is a guy that has that ability to be a better nickel than even an outside corner. And he has outside corner ability, of course. But because of some of his ability, his athleticism that he showed in space, I think this is a guy you think of Kenny Moore, like that kind of. I think maybe a little bit bigger, maybe. I don't know. We have to check on that. But that type of physicality, ability, and I liked him there. Again, talked about the physicality, press man guy. I would love a nickel who, hey man, I'm comfortable in press. I'll play press man, and hey, I can play off, and I can come up and run support. So, what's his height, weight, and speed?
Yeah, he's a little under 5'11", 5'10" and 3/4, 194 pounds. He ran 4.48 at the combine, and it looks like he didn't do any other testing at his pro day either. So just a 40 time on him as far as testing numbers. 4.48, so good speed. I think he plays 2.44 speed on tape. Shows an ability to match receivers in man coverage. His build is kind of similar to Diamador Lenore, right? Am I wrong there? Demo's like what, 5'10", 195, something like that?
Yeah. And ran maybe a very
he ran like
I'm trying to pull up.
Demo wasn't fast.
I think he ran in the 4.4.
Did he? Okay. I thought it was more like 4.5 flat. Well, actually, that'd be pretty close. 4.48 then. So maybe that's what the 49ers see in Quincy Riley, is something more similar, at least size-wise, and maybe role-wise, to Diamador Lenore, a guy who can play outside, can play inside, which is perfect for your number 3 corner. If Demo gets hurt, you need someone who can play outside and inside, and you need someone who can come in and be the third corner if Demo's playing in the nickel, and they can play some outside. So for that reason, I think Quincy Riley would be a nice little fit for the San Francisco 49ers, and is projected to be, third, fourth round range. He's there a lot in the fourth round in the sims that I do. Brugler has him as a 3rd to 4th round pick and has him as the number 11 cornerback in this draft. A couple other notes here.
Lenore's pro day, 4.44. Did not run at the combine.
Whoa. I didn't think
did measure in 5'10", 199 pounds. So definitely a little bit more on the thicker side, but shows some really good speed. So
interesting. I didn't realize Demo ran that fast. For some reason, I had in my head he was like a 4.5 flat guy. I mean, it's not that far off, but
I had in my head he was like 4.48. Okay. But I remember it being a good time.
Interesting. A couple other quick notes here. This is what I love Dane Brugler's beast for, because he has stuff that's just, there's so much good stuff in the bio. Louisville cornerbacks coach Steve Ellis, quoted on Quincy Riley, said, quote, "He's the best I have ever coached, and I have coached some real ones." So coaching staff loves him. Not only he's really good, he is the best. And I wish I knew all the other names that Steve Ellis had coached in his career, whether it's a Louisville or elsewhere. But he's well liked, and the 49ers are into that. So high character, and that might be one of the reasons maybe they wanted to talk to him about his the reason he plays off coverage a certain way. That's the other thing. You're like, you always wonder, it's like, okay, why just bring this guy on the 30 visit? They're trying to throw people off. Are they super interested in one aspect of his game? Are they trying to figure out his character? If he's already a good character guy, you need to bring that type of player in? Usually you bring the guys in that for character reasons that you're not quite sure about. So interesting that only 2 corners and 1 wide receiver have been reported as visiting with the San Francisco 49ers. And it's the 3 players that we talked about today: Quincy Riley, Cobee Bryant, and Kyle Williams, which I think tells you the 49ers plans that if they go wide receiver, corner, probably not going to be early in the draft, probably in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round range is where they're targeting those guys. Quincy Riley clearly ahead of Cobee Bryant, right?
Yes.
So
especially when you have more of the physical build that you're looking for, and then you just test it better. That right there is going to catapult you up, and then you just watch it, and it's like, oh, press man looks really good. can we get him more comfortable with, playing off and having instincts from there, especially if he's someone that is going to play a little bit more in the slot. We're going to ask him to do different things, but again, played in the slot at the collegiate level. Definitely, in my opinion, a higher prospect than Cobee Bryant.
And honestly, it's hard to find corners that I like a lot in this draft. It's not a great cornerback draft, and it might be a reason why you could argue that the Niners, if Will Johnson's there at 11, should they just make that pick? Has his stance changed at all on that? I know we liked Will Johnson when we watched his tape. Will Johnson at 11, Croc?
No, I think if you told me, hey man, you can get a defensive lineman that's going to be impactful for the 49ers in the first round, double back in the second round with either, interior defensive line or an edge or an offensive lineman. And then, you start creeping towards the fourth round and I can get a guy like, Riley. I would probably go that direction as opposed to just drafting Will Johnson at pick 11. And I like Will Johnson. I'm not sure I love him for pick 11. Trade back, then now we're talking. Maybe if I got some testing numbers on him and knew like, okay, well now you have. Oh, go ahead.
Will Johnson is having his own personal pro day Monday. So by the time folks are looking, he might have ran. And so he doesn't have to go that fast. Just be 4.4 something, right?
Sub 4.5.
Yeah, exactly.
At 4.11. Anything outside of sub 4.5, you start, 4.52, 4.53. I think it just kind of pulls you out of the, top 11 pick conversation.
Yeah. I still think look out for pick 6 and Will Johnson, especially if he runs fairly well. All right. Let us know what you think at BD Peacock, at Crocky209. Make sure you're subbed up on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. And Croc and I back tomorrow. Which prospects should we be looking at? Getting ready for the NFL draft right here. Locked On 49ers.